So welcome to Christian CND webinar and prayer meeting. Today we're talking about the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. So next slide. Yeah, so let's start with a Bible reading. So this is from Matthew chapter 7. Yeah, okay, can you mute?
Yes.
Can you put mute on, Mary, please?
Pardon?
Can you mute yourself, please? You keep.
Oh, right. I'm just right. Where do I go to? Oh.
So, Bible reading from Matthew. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? And if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly Father give good gifts to those who ask him? So in everything, do to others what you'd have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. Yes, I wanted to have the golden rule, do to others as you'd have them do to you. And then I found that immediately before that was this one about God the Father giving good gifts to people who ask, like parents want to give good things to their children. We have Christian CND t-shirts with that Bible reference on. That's why I chose that for this evening. So this is what I hope to talk about. I'm going to talk about other treaties that ban weapons, and talk about ICANN, talk about what the treaty is banning. That's the most important part of this talk. Yeah, why was the treaty made? How does a state join the treaty? Positive actions in the treaty. It's not just about what's being banned. There are some things to do as well. Who are the state parties and the meetings they have? And I've got a thing up there to remind me to record, and I am recording. So, yeah, multilateral disarmament treaties. So 1975 was the Biological Weapon Convention banning biological weapons. 1997 Chemical Weapon Convention banning chemical weapons. 1999 Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Treaty. 2010 Convention on Cluster Munitions about banning cluster bombs. And in 2021, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. So the treaty that I'm talking about this evening is part of that set of terribly destructive weapons that have been banned. ICANN, the International Campaign Against Nuclear Weapons. This is an international coalition of organisations who all want to see an end to nuclear weapons. Yeah, Christian CND is a member of ICANN, and also CND, and that was the driving force. So 10 years we've been working on to get a ban treaty, and then the treaty was agreed in 2017, and ICANN was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for all the work that they've done. But it is a coalition of organisations all over the world. So what is the treaty banning? there's 7 or 8 things that it is banning, and this is in Article 1 of the treaty. The state parties agree never to acquire nuclear weapons. So just flip onto here. This is what the actual wording of the article reads. So when I say don't acquire weapons, I've just shortened it. What the treaty really says is each party undertakes never under any circumstances to develop, test, produce, manufacture, otherwise acquire, possess, or stockpile nuclear weapons or other nuclear explosive devices. That's what it looks like. Go back to my shortened version of it. So we'll just have a drink. Yeah, so whenever I say nuclear weapons, in the real treaty, they say nuclear weapons or other nuclear explosive devices. That's highlighted in blue. So they say we're never going to acquire nuclear weapons, never going to transfer nuclear weapons to another state, never receive nuclear weapons from another state, never use nuclear weapons or threaten to use nuclear weapons. So see why there are 2 Ds there. Because D says use or threaten to use nuclear weapons or other nuclear explosive device. So I said, so here in the actual wording of the treaty itself, it's got 7 prohibitions. But if use and threaten to use 2 separate things, then there's 8 prohibitions. So when I was in New York in 2017, I spoke to a lawyer because I was at an NGO meeting, and I asked the question: isn't having nuclear weapons as a deterrent, isn't that threatening to use nuclear weapons? But a lawyer spoke to me sort of one-to-one and said, no, the threaten is when a country that has nuclear weapons is trying to force another country to do something by saying, if you don't do this thing that we're forcing you to do, we will launch a nuclear attack against you. That's what a threat is. That's what threatens to use nuclear weapons. It's just having deterrence where you're saying, if you attack us, we'll attack you. That's not, according to this lawyer who's speaking to me, that's not actually what it means by threatening to use nuclear weapons. But if a country hasn't done the first thing, if it hasn't acquired nuclear weapons or hasn't received nuclear weapons from another country, then it won't be able to threaten to use nuclear weapons. It won't be able to use nuclear weapons. But it'd be incomplete if this treaty didn't say that it was banning the use of nuclear weapons. Though you can't use nuclear weapons if you don't acquire them, you don't possess them, you don't have them stationed in your territory. So E says assist anyone to engage in the prohibited activities. So the prohibited activities, the acquire, transfer, receive, use, threaten. Don't assist anybody to do that. And F, don't receive assistance to engage in the prohibited activities. And yes, don't allow nuclear weapons to be stationed in the state's territory. This is like the NATO countries there's some NATO countries that have NATO nuclear weapons in their country. And also Belarus has got some Russian nuclear weapons in it.
Right.
So that's part of what's being done. What's the time? So, yes, that's the real words. Then, yeah, but there are some other things that the treaty is banning, not just what's in Article 1. Article 5 is about nations, national implementation. Yeah, the state parties agreed to take legal action to prevent prohibited activities by any person under their jurisdiction or in their control. So saying state parties agreed not to do all those prohibited things in Article 1. But if somebody in their country or one of their citizens is actually partaking in that activity, then they've got to stop them and mustn't allow it to happen in their country, in the territory which they're under control. So that's my shortened version. This is what Article 5 really looks like. Each state party shall adopt necessary measures to implement its obligations under the treaty. Each state party should take all appropriate legal, administrative, or other measures, including the imposition of penalty sanctions to prevent or suppress any activity prohibited to state parties under this treaty undertaken by person or in the territories under their jurisdictional control. So something else that is being banned in Article 17, which is about the duration of withdrawal of the treaty. So if a state party withdraws from the treaty, from the TPNW, if a country does withdraw from it, they're not allowed to start acquiring nuclear weapons for 12 months after they deposit the notice of withdrawal. And then after the 12 months, if they're at war at that time, they're still not allowed to start acquiring nuclear weapons till they're at peace again. So they agree that when they join the treaty, they agree if they ever do leave it, there's a 12-month cooling off period, and they can't, if they're at war, they can't leave and start developing nuclear weapons. So this is what it looks like. So, but yes, so why was the treaty made? So we can read about this in the preamble of the treaty. So the preamble has 24 considerations, or what I describe as considerations. But it is just one long sentence with 930 words in it. So this is the preamble. Start the preamble. So I'll just read you the first two, and then I'll summarize them. So this is how the treaty starts off. The state parties to this treaty determined to contribute to the realization of the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations, deeply concerned about the catastrophic humanitarian consequences that would result from any use of nuclear weapons, and recognizing the consequent need to completely eliminate such weapons which remains the only way to guarantee that nuclear weapons are never used again in any circumstances. So that's the first two, and there's 24 things like that. It just goes on and on like this. And each one is just got a comma at the end of it. So we have agreed as follows, and then it goes into Article 1. So the first full stop is at the end of Article 1. So just have a summary of those 24 considerations in the preamble. So it talks about the danger to the environment. Talks about nuclear weapons use to have grave implications on human survival. They disproportionately impact women and girls. The disproportionate impact on indigenous people. Yeah, talks about the suffering of the Hibakusha, the survivors of the Japanese bombs, and the nuclear test victims. It talks about accidental detonations and the economic and human resources wasted on nuclear weapons. That nuclear weapons is a waste of money that could be spent on better things. So the brackets, the numbers in brackets of which consideration I've taken it from. So that's why the treaty was made, and really that's what they were talking about at the meeting that I went to. So we had talks from the Hibakusha and from test victims, talks from faith groups. It talks about the environment or the nuclear winter and things like that at the meeting that I went to. So this is why the treaty is made, and it's the majority of the countries saying to the few countries that have nuclear weapons, we don't think it makes the world safe.
No.
You can't pretend that you're doing it for the protection of the rest of the world. Why treaties made. So how does the state join the treaty? So have I got a pointer to no. So if a country wants to join, has the country ever had nuclear weapons? No, so if a country's never had nuclear weapons, have nuclear weapons ever been stationed on the territory? No. So then they can go in through Article 2, which is a statement saying we've never had nuclear weapons, we've never had nuclear weapons stationed in our territory. So if they've never had nuclear weapons, but they've had nuclear weapons stationed on their territory, they have to arrange for them to be removed. And then they can go in, and Article 4, paragraph 4 is the procedure for them to enter the treaty. So if a country has had nuclear weapons, so they had nuclear weapons in the past, but they've got rid of them. This is like South Africa. They can come into the treaty. Article 4, paragraph 1 describes how they can come to the treaty. So South Africa
Mm.
is one of the state parties, has signed and ratified the treaty. And if
Mm.
our country, who has had nuclear weapons and still has nuclear weapons, well, Article 4, paragraphs 2 and 3 deal with that. So if they want, so first of all, they've got to put take their nuclear weapons out of active service, and then go to the state parties and agree a deadline for when they're going to get rid of the nuclear weapons, and then they can join it. So this is so the time is yeah. So this is the state that never possessed or controlled nuclear weapons and never had them stationed on their territory. So they sign the treaty, which is talked about in Article 13. They ratify it. So I assume ratification means they pass a law in their country saying that they're going to abide by the prohibited actions in Article 1. And then there's acceptance or approval. So I'm not quite sure what that means. That's in Article 14. So they've got ratification, acceptance, approval, and accession. Not quite sure what they all mean. And then they have to deposit an instrument of ratification, acceptance, or approval, or accession. That's Article 15. And then I've also got to do some other things with the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. So they have to maintain its safeguard obligations that already exist, negotiate safeguards agreement starting 180 days after that state enters the TPNW. And submit a declaration to the Secretary General of the United Nations. That's the Article 2. Two things. So I've got these things. I don't think I've got time to show you all that. I think I explained that when I showed you the flow chart. So the positive actions. So they've said what they're not going to do, but what are they going to do? So they're going to encourage other states to join the NP. Sorry, I keep saying the N at the start. It's TPNW. So Article 12, state parties are to encourage other states to join the treaty. So let's start. Positive actions for the treaty is the restitution. So Article 6. So if a member of the treaty, if one of the states is the member of the treaty, has in their country victims, either from the use of nuclear weapons or from testing nuclear weapons, then they have to take adequate care of them. And if one of the countries that's a member of the treaty has areas that have been contaminated by nuclear weapons or testing nuclear weapons, then they have to remedy the contaminated areas. So it's such the people and the areas in the state that's in the treaty. And then all this, and then Article 7, state parties in a position to do so shall provide assistance for victims of the use and testing of nuclear weapons. And then states which used or tested nuclear weapons have a special responsibility to provide adequate assistance to victims and the states that are affected. Such positive actions. So who are the state parties? So there's 73 that have ratified, another 25 that have signed but not ratified, and here's a map showing them, and then I've just got them all listed on loads of pages of them. These are the states that are ratified, so just show you there's so many of these. So it's 73 altogether. And then these are the ones that signed, not ratified. So the totals are 73. So if you add up the population of all those countries, it comes to 1,700 million people, which is 21% of the population of the world. So 21% of the population of the world live in a country that has signed and ratified the Treaty for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. So let's go back to this list. I was going to start something. No, I think we're running out of time, so I'm going to just rush through everything else. But I think I've covered the important parts in greater detail. So the meetings, which is covered by Article 8. So the meetings are called meetings of the state parties, MSP. So they happen at 2-year intervals, starting one year after. And there's one and it's happening now. So they're going to be in even years, odd years, 2025. This is one 2023 and 2025. So what's the purpose of the meeting? To consider and decide on implementation and status of the treaty. B, verify of nuclear weapons have been irreversibly eliminated. And C, other matters related to the prohibition of the thing. So really, if country has got rid of the nuclear weapons, the purpose of the meeting is to plan how they're going to get rid of the nuclear weapons and how it's going to be all checked. So there's also review conference is supposed to happen every 6 years, then they can have extraordinary meetings. So that's the end of my talk. It's a summary of what we talked about. So the multilateral disarmament treaties, biological, chemical, mines, cluster bombs, and nuclear weapons have all now been banned. The ICAN coalition to get the treaty, but the goals of ICAN is the elimination of nuclear weapons. So they've not. This is just. They've still got a long way to go. The treaty is one thing. We want the total elimination of nuclear weapons. That's ICAN's goals. That's Christian CND's goal. What is the treaty banning? acquire, transfer, receive, use, threaten, assist, receive assistance, allow stationing of nuclear weapons. Why was the treaty made? Nuclear weapons are a danger to the environment, threaten human survival, and waste of resources. How does a state join the treaty? There's 4 different routes in. And the state can join while it still has nuclear weapons with an agreed timetable. Positive actions, the treaty, restitution, and encourage other countries to join the treaty. So thank you. Oh, no, sorry, there's a bit more summary. Yeah, who are the state parties? There's 73 ratified, 25 signed but not ratified. And the meetings, meeting state parties every 5 years and review meetings every six years. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, questions and comments.